What's up everybody, Sam Smyers here. Today I want to talk about how to mix vocals for select style deep house. Now I'm going to talk about my whole process of what I do when I get the vocals from the singer to how I would vocal produce them and then finally mix the vocals. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. And also if you do enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a like. The example I'm going to be using today is from my song, I Don't Mind. Let me just play you a few sections of this song so you can get an overall idea of how it sounds.
I don't know why I do the things that I do, but I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze. What a shame. See, I try in a way.
Let's check out some vocals from the drop.
Have a way of ruining me. You're killing me with every move, but it's fine. I don't mind.
So those are a few sections of the song. If you do want to check out the full song in its entirety, then you can check it out on Spotify. It's called I Don't Mind. Just search Sam Smyers, I Don't Mind, and you'll be able to find it. So when I am working with a singer and getting vocals for a song that I'm working on, first of all, I have to figure out whether they are going to tune the vocals and how they're going to tune them. Usually I prefer that they will use Melodyne. That's probably the best option for getting vocals to sound the most natural. If they are not going to tune the vocals, then I will tune them, so I will Melodyne them. And this is usually something that you should discuss with the vocalist before you get started, because if they don't tune the vocals and you don't know how to tune vocals, then you're gonna have to find somebody who can tune them. So when I first get the vocals, I will import them into the RX-7 audio editor and I will batch process them using the mouth to click processing. And I'll just put them into the input here, apply the mouth to click processing with eliminate clicks, and then process them, and it does it all really quickly in one batch. And so basically I do this is because I want to remove any kind of mouth noises, tongue noises, saliva clicks, any of those things that you get when a vocalist is singing or talking into a mic really close. You hear a lot of mouth noises. And those noises can become a lot louder when you start applying compression and EQ. So I just try to remove as much of them as I can with the RX-7. So once I do that, then I'll either tune the vocals if they have not been tuned, or I will go ahead and just import them into my Ableton session if they have been tuned. So let's go ahead and just check out how I mix my vocals. I will usually put all my vocals into a vocal bus or a vocal group in Ableton. And on this vocal bus, I will do some type of compression and EQ, maybe some saturation and maybe some de-essing. In this particular instance, it looks like I just used the VC160, which is from Native Instruments. And I'm using a 2:1 ratio, 1.9 ratio on the compression there. And then also let's check out the EQ here. Just tipping some frequencies around 700 Hertz, nothing too crazy on the EQ. So let's just go ahead and go through this lead vocal. And so even though I did have Melodyne on these vocals, or the singer melodyned them and sent them to me, I did put auto-tune on them as well, because that adds another effect. And just to make sure that everything is nice and perfectly in tune. Very slow retune speed here, so you're not really hearing too much of that auto-tune effect. So let's just go ahead and check out the dry vocals.
I don't know why I do the things that I do.
And then let's check it out with the processing.
I don't know why I do the things that I do.
So you can hear that these vocals were really well recorded. She probably used like a condenser mic, and the spaces, she cut out the background noises from the spaces. So that's really good to know that she did that, the singer did that. And if she does not do that, if the singer does not do that, then just make sure that you're checking out any of the empty spaces in between your vocals. And if there is background noise, then you're cutting it out. So now after the auto-tune, I add some EQ8, just cutting out the low end. And I usually do this before I add on any kind of compressor.
Don't know why I do the things that I do.
And then usually I'll use a 1176 style compressor along with a LA2A style compressor. So you can use the ones from Waves, the ones from UAD. I just have a lot of the Native Instruments plugins, so that's why I use the Native Instruments versions. And I'll use these in series. So start with the 1176 and LA2A. And this is basically something that has been done on vocals for years and years in studios. So basically I just replicate that because it's proven to make vocals sound good. So without that, let's go ahead and hear it.
Don't know why I do the things that I do.
And obviously I boosted the gain as well.
Don't know why I do the things that I do.
And then after that, I run the vocals through this thing called the Pre-1973, and this is by Arturia. And this basically models the Neve 1073 preamp. So I guess this adds some of that tone from that preamp. And then also I have the EQ options. So I did add an EQ boost using one of these knobs here.
Don't know why I do the things that I do.
And with it on.
Don't know why I do the things that I do.
Just around 2K or so, I've got a little bump there on the EQ. Then after the 1973, I have the Pro Q3. And you can see I'm using a lot of dynamic bands here, but not too much processing as far as these dynamic bands go. So let me check this out.
And I waste all my time staying away. But one touch, and I'm back in your control.
So you can see I just found some areas where there were buildup of frequencies and then added dynamic bands to help control them. After that, I have the decapitator, and I'm using maybe like 20% of the decapitator in the mix here just to add a bit more drive to the vocals. I'm using classic rock Vox preset.
And I waste all my time staying away.
So I feel like you can hear a little bit more of the breathiness from those vocals when adding on this decapitator. So then I have this Air Windows D-Bess. This is a free de-essing plugin, and it's pretty interesting. It can actually work pretty intensely to make your vocals sound like they have a lisp in them. So it's pretty interesting. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it'll actually take out all the high end from your vocals. So you have to be careful when using this thing and also just see if it will work, because sometimes on some of my vocals it doesn't work. But let me show you what it sounds like without this on. So let's listen to the S sounds here.
Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
And let's go ahead and put on the D-Bess.
Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
And then the Pro DS.
Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
So we can hear that the Pro DS is doing a lot of work too.
Your gaze.
And what's cool about the Pro DS is that if you have it on single vocal and you put the threshold all the way to negative infinity, then it will take all of the S sounds to the maximum range amount. So it's taking all of the S's every time it hears an S to negative 6.8 dB. So then after that, I do have an automation here, and I'm using the utility plugin. And basically, I went through and found other sibilant sounds that weren't being fixed by the de-esser, and then I manually automated them.
Every time it feels like it's new.
So there is a time there, there's a consonant, and then some more S sounds. A lot of times I can usually get away with using de-essers on the vocals to take out a lot of the sibilant sounds, but if that doesn't work, then you can always add in some manual automation. Then after that, I have my wet effects. So wet effects is going to be things like my reverbs and my delays. So I'm using two reverbs. I'm using a short reverb, and for that short reverb, I'm using this plate. Let's solo it. And then the hall reverb, I'm using the FabFilter Pro R. So on this compressor, I'm actually sidechaining it with the dry vocal so that the reverb is actually ducking out of the way when the vocal is in the track and it comes back up in between the spaces.
Every time it feels like it's new.
And let me exaggerate that so you can hear it.
Every time it feels like it's new. You're killing me with every move.
So then I just have a half note delay and I have some automation there. So if we check out how I'm using the half note delay, I'm only using it in the drop and I take it away during the verse. So let's check out the drop section.
Like the way we hurt me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like it's new.
So you can hear it in between the spaces there.
Like the way we hurt me and you.
And that's with it muted. And then there's another section here where I'm actually automating the feedback on that one half note delay.
I don't mind.
So that rings out a bit more. So that about does it for the processing on that lead vocal. And what I'll do is often I'll just copy those plugins from that lead vocal onto the rest of the vocals and then adjust them, just make minor adjustments. What I also often do is I will put my effects on separate tracks. So this effect is actually just a quarter note delay. And basically I just have the echo here for the delay and then the Valhalla vintage verb on top of that. And this is just going to be at the end of phrases so that there is some more echo at the end of the phrases.
But I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
And I will mute it now.
But I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
That is a technique that I often do, is I'll use some type of longer delay and use it to delay or reverb out the end of phrases to really fill in the empty spaces in between the vocals.
But I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
And I'll mute those.
But I know I always end up with you. Don't know why I lose myself in your gaze.
So it's really effective, and you can see I'm just doing that throughout this whole track here, just taking the ends of it and then copy and pasting it down to this new track. So after that, during this buildup, I have a little repeat. And you'll often hear that in dance music. As you're getting into a build, you'll hear the vocal repeat and get faster and faster, and that's what I did there. So just a little thing that happens in the buildup. Then after that, I have these vocals during the drop. So let's go ahead and solo all of these together. So you can hear a lot more auto-tune going on there. Let's check this out. So my auto-tune here, we can see that the retune speed is a lot faster, and I'm using this formant turned on to actually shift the tone of the vocal. Just to give it a bit of a different texture. And then if I check out my decapitator, I think I'm using almost 80–90% of the capitator with way more drive. So that's what's giving it the distorted effect. But I'm using a lot of the same plugins and settings I used on that lead vocal. And then under that, I layer it with a octave lower. And to do that, I'm using the little altar boy, and I'm using some more formant shifting on the altar boy and lowering the pitch on the altar boy. And then I have a version that's raised up an octave. And I'm also doing that with the little altar boy. And this one does not have reverb on it, this higher version, because I already have reverb on this original version plus the detuned version that's down an octave. So I didn't want to add too much reverb and delay. So now after that, I have my reverse reverbs. So let's go ahead and check these out. And those are really nice to add some transition in between sections. Or this one. And if I mute it, so you can hear I have a white noise riser as well, but this vocal riser adds a bit more interesting texture to that section. So next I have some adlibs here. So you can hear again, I'm using some more auto-tune effect and then also using the formant shift on my auto-tune here. So got pretty fast retune speed and then shifting that formant and then using quite a lot of reverb and distortion on this first one. And that is the one that is pitched down an octave. When I do get vocals from a vocalist, I always make sure that they give me some type of ad-lib track, because you can always take these ad-libs, chop them up, put them in different places, use them as ear candy or texture, and that's what I did for this track and for a lot of sections throughout this track. So here's another track that has ad-libs. And basically, I'm doing the same thing using a fast retune speed and changing the formant on these vocals. Let's check it out in the track. And then at the end, it's really cool here. And I'll solo those ad-libs. And basically there, I've got the panning back and forth. And let's go ahead and check out the plugins here. So using the VC76, VC2A, Decapitator, DBS, and using this delay here, analog collapse. So that's what's adding a lot of that delay. And then also pretty heavy setting on the vintage verb here. So 3.5 seconds and a 30 to 40% mix there. And then I've got some automation just to automate these throughout the different sections. Obviously, you want these to be a bit lower during the verse, so I lower them during the verse, take them up during the drop, and then during the ending, make them even quieter. So without them at the end, and then with them at the end. So now after those ad-libs, let's check out these ad-libs here. And you probably can't even really hear it in the mix, but in the first build-up, I don't have them. And so in this second build-up, I just wanted to give it a bit of a different feel and texture. So now after those ad-libs, I have the vocal doubles. And actually on these doubles, I only have a compressor here, the Pro C2. And let's check this out. So I'm using a preset vocals total control, and then the Pro Q3, making sure I'm taking out the low end there, and then the Pro DS, and that's it.
Like the way we heard me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like it's new.
So very dry because I have so much reverb in that lead vocal and also a lot of reverb on those ad-libs. I felt like I didn't really need that much reverb or any reverb at all on these doubles.
Like the way we heard me and you.
And basically these cuts here, I'm cutting out the S sounds. I'll do that a lot of times for doubles and backgrounds. Is you really only need that S sound from the lead vocal. And especially with her vocal, her S's are pretty sharp sounding. So I just tried to cut them out, remove them, do the best I could with the vocals that I had. And so they're panned to left and right, and on these individual tracks, nothing on them. And usually I'll group process them, and that's what I did here. And then same thing for the harmonies. I use only 3 plugins on the harmonies here, just the same settings. So let's check out the harmonies.
Like the way we heard me and you. Every time it feels like it's new.
And I have the pan left and right. So let's listen to the harmonies and the doubles together.
Like the way we heard me and you. Yeah, every time it feels like it's new. You're killing me with every move.
And so this is when it definitely helps when you have the singer record on a good mic, because these are things in the background. I didn't really need to use too many plugins and too much shaping to help them to sound good. And so for the harmonies, I am using some automation at the end. Sometimes I will have the harmonies at a lower level during the first drop and then bring them up in level during the second drop, so that it's almost like you have more intensity and you can hear them more. And it just gives a bit of a different vibe to the second drop. So that's basically all the vocals. Let me just solo part of these vocals so we can hear the whole acapella. Let's do the drop.
You have a way of ruining me. You're killing me with every move. But it's fine, I don't mind. I don't mind.
So that's just basically part of the vocal acapella, and I'll put a link down below for you to download this acapella if you do want to use it in some of your productions, just to help you build out some productions, or even if you do want to just make a remix just to help you produce around some good sounding vocals. So hopefully this video will help you to better understand how to mix vocals for selected style deep house. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please consider subscribing to my channel. And finally, if you are truly looking to improve your mixing skills, then check out my Modern Mix Academy. This is going to be a full all-in mixing course that I created that will help you make some of the best mixes of your life from the comfort of your own home. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.